Everybody, my name's Aaron. I'd like to welcome you to the Universal Awakening Project. If you watched our last episode, you remember that that episode was dedicated to the concept of spiritual remembrance, which comes as a function of attaching to higher frequencies, but also as a function of clearing out internal traumas and pain and lower energy to create space for us to be able to connect with the Akashic records and the higher frequencies and actually kind of get back to our original soul essence. And so what I'd like to do today is do a short guided meditation in which we kind of work through some of that energy. We kind of become a microcosm of the macrocosm of Gaia, the earth spirit, and align with her. And then as we do that, we can start acting as a conduit for energy to go both down and up through us. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start off by aligning all of our chakras and get them going, make sure they're all moving and working the way they should. I always find that's very important to make sure that everything is sort of balanced through our body before we start meditations like this. And then what we're going to do is we're going to call down energy from the astral realm that we're going, and it's going to be high frequency energy that we're going to pass through us, and we're going to let that go through us and into Gaia, Mother Earth, and that way we can connect with her. And at the same time, what we're going to do is we're going to let her start a second channel that goes up through us back to the astral realm, and to which she can send up low frequency, high density energy that's kind of getting in the way of our remembrance of this. And while we do that, we can start kind of connecting into that second column ourselves and sending up our low frequency energy and traumas and pains. And what happens to that energy is it actually goes back to the astral realm. If you know anything about the law of conservation of matter, we know that energy is neither created nor destroyed ever. All it ever does is change forms and stuff. And so this energy is still needed in the universe, but what we do is we send it up to be transmuted and alchemized and basically recycled back into the earth and into us as a high frequency energy. So what we're going to do to start off with is we're going to go ahead and make sure that our energy centers or chakras are in alignment, and we'll take a little bit to do that. And then we'll go ahead and start working on the actual connection, both down and then up. And then we'll kind of see where it goes from there. We might get some insights in there. We might be able to just kind of work through some affirmations that, kind of align us to the purpose of this meditation and what it is that we can get from it. So what I'd like to do is I recommend for this guided meditation that you be sitting. This one's much easier to do when you're sitting because we have to actually make contact with the earth with our feet. If you can be doing it outside, preferably without shoes on, maybe in grass, where you can actually touch Gaia, that would make it even better. That really helps the transmission flow a lot faster. But as long as we can make some kind of contact, and really even like you can do this from like a second story building too, if you really need to, or higher. You just have to visualize a very long way down for that energy to hit Gaia. But energy never really loses its strength or anything like that. So it can certainly be done from greater heights, but it's a lot easier to do if you're actually making physical contact with the ground. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to start breathing through our chakras and kind of making sure that they're all going. We're going to start at the root chakra, which is at our tailbone. And if you're called to, close your eyes and relax. And we're going to take a deep breath in to our root chakra, which is, you can visualize as a red disc or sphere or orb, basically at your tailbone where your butt makes contact with whatever surface you're sitting on. Let's visualize it. Let's breathe into it and visualize that chakra spinning, preferably at a very high rate of speed. If it's spinning slowly, then we might want to take a few more breaths into it, but we need to make sure that it's flowing freely and that it's spinning basically as fast as it can. And we're going to make sure that channel in us is open. Okay, so take a few moments. Let's breathe into that root chakra. Breathe in through your nose, hold at the top, and then out through your mouth. Okay, so if we feel that one's going good and we've got that one spinning, then let's move up to our sacral chakra, which you can visualize as an orange spinning disc or orb, basically in the space between your belly button and your pubic bone. The sacral is where our creativity comes from, and it's one of the most commonly blocked chakras. So it might be worth taking an extra minute to kind of look at this one. But let's take a deep breath in and make sure that it's spinning. And if it's spinning slowly, let's kind of work with it and keep breathing into it to make sure that it's spinning at approximately the same rate as the root chakra. We want them to both be spinning in alignment with each other. That way we can start making that, that unified column of energy that's going to pass through us. All right, so let's take a couple more breaths into the sacral chakra. Make sure it's online and spinning and doing everything it's supposed to do. Okay, and then from there we can move up to our solar plexus chakra. This is where a lot of our confidence comes from, and this is, again, one of the more commonly blocked chakras. I think our society conditions us to sort of repress or suppress our solar plexus chakra, and so let's give it some love right now. Let's take a deep breath in. Visualize it as a yellow disc or orb, spinning like the other two that we've already done. Make sure that it's spinning at an appropriate rate. If you feel any sluggishness or blockages, take a few extra breaths into it. Let's just make sure that it's spinning and active and transmitting energy, as it should. And again, we take a deep breath in through the nose, hold at the top and out through the mouth. And this is one of the ones that people generally need to take a little extra time with, just because it is, so likely to be sluggish or blocked for a lot of people. So let's take one more. And just make sure that it's spinning freely and unobstructed and spinning at the same rate as the root and the sacral chakra. All right, so from there, we're going to move up to our heart chakra, which is in the center of our chest, right in the middle. And we can visualize this as a green disc or orb that's spinning, and this one, like a lot of people really need to, make a conscious effort to get access to. It is, starting to get into the higher chakras and stuff, and so some people just kind of aren't familiar with it. I highly suggest if that's the case for you, there's plenty of heart activation meditations online and stuff. You can certainly, look into that. But let's take a deep breath in. And make sure this one is spinning like the previous chakras. And this is where your love and connection to other people comes from. This is sort of the target of where we're trying to live from as we make this transition from the lower frequencies to the higher frequencies. This is, the center of love and connection. And so it's very important that we get this one spinning in alignment with the other chakras. So let's take a deep breath in, hold it at the top, blow it out. And let's just take a second to make sure that chakra is doing what it's supposed to be doing and spinning, at the same rate as the other ones. And when we're good with that one, we can move up to our throat chakra, which is, as the name would indicate, on the throat and the throat area. You can visualize this as a light blue disc or orb that's spinning just like the other ones. This is where your power for communication comes out. This is where your ability to articulate your thoughts clearly comes from. This is what gives you confidence and communication with other people. And this is also one that has a tendency to be blocked for a lot of people. This one is another one that society conditions us to kind of block, to shrink ourselves and be quiet and not use our voice. And so one of the things that we're overcoming in this ascension process is that block, to our spiritual communication, basically. We really want to overcome that block, and we want to be able to connect with others and communicate with others in an efficient and articulate and genuine, authentic way. So let's take a deep breath, and it's actually kind of a shorter breath to that chakra. It's not very far away from your nose, but let's go ahead and breathe into it. Hold at the top, breathe out. Make sure that one's, spinning at the same rate as the other chakras below it. Let's take a few seconds, give that one some love, give it some work, and make sure that it's not blocked and that it's moving freely. Okay. All right, now that we're done with that one, we can move up to the third eye chakra, which is in the middle of our forehead and back a couple inches, sort of in the center of our head. On the third eye, we can visualize as like a dark blue or indigo disc or orb that's spinning just like the other ones. This one is one that people, generally speaking, don't have a lot, or have, unless you've really worked at it, or just by nature kind of a highly spiritual being. A lot of people haven't worked with this one much. It's definitely one that takes some practice. But we can visualize it as, like I said, a dark blue or indigo spinning disc or orb, in our forehead area, and we can breathe into it and make sure that it's spinning just like the other ones. So visualize your breath going up to that area and then back down. Let's kind of give it a little more love. Let's breathe into it, up, hold, and back down, and make sure that that motion's correct and everything's flowing properly there. And when we work with our third eye chakra, we can really kind of get into some, amazing visions and really some higher learning. That's where a lot of that happens. It's a beautiful chakra. And then finally, we have our crown chakra, which is at the top of our head, like literally, where your crown would sit. And we can visualize that as a purple or kind of violet orb or disc that's spinning just like the other ones. And this one is another one, sort of like the third eye chakra, that most people have to make a pretty conscious effort to work with. It sort of is out of reach for us, like in our natural state, so it really takes a lot of effort to connect with that one. But when we do, we can spin it, see it spinning just like the other ones and kind of doing its thing. And so let's breathe into it, up to the top, hold, breathe back out. Let's get that one just a little more love. Let's breathe in, hold, make sure that it's spinning properly and that it's aligned, and out. And so what we're going to do, so now we've activated and aligned all 7 of our major chakras. What we're going to do is we're going to picture a beam of light coming from the astral realm. And this beam of light is just bright white. I mean, it's so radiant, it's almost difficult to look at. And let's visualize that connecting to our crown chakra. It's going to come and hit us right in the crown chakra, right where, crown chakra is where we make our connection to spirit, to source, and to the astral realm. So we're going to visualize that hitting us there, and then it's going to move down and flow down to our third eye chakra, and then it's going to come down to our throat, and then it's going to come to our heart, into our solar plexus, and our sacral, and our root. And it's going to go down our legs and into Gaia Mother Earth. And we're going to visualize this as a solid column of energy going through us that unites all of our energy centers, has everything spinning. We're just a big connected conduit at the moment. And the energy and light and love is passing through us, and it's going through our feet into the essence and the surface of Gaia Mother Earth. And we're sending that energy out like roots. We're like a tree that's rooted to Gaia, and we're becoming one with her. We're becoming a microcosm of her macrocosm by doing this. And we send these roots and tendrils of light and love all through the earth, all the way around the earth to the center of the earth, and we become absolutely one with Gaia Mother Earth. And while we do that, we invite her to start sending up energy in a very similar way, sending up roots of energy through us, through our feet, to go up. And so we're going to receive that lower frequency, high density energy that we're moving past from the 3D to the 5D. We're basically making an energy exchange from low density, or it's from low frequency to high frequency energy here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take that energy that she gives us, and we're going to let it come up through our legs, and then up to the root, up to the sacral, up to the solar plexus, up to the heart, up to the throat, up to the to the third eye, up to the crown, and then on to the astral realm, where we establish basically like a recycling loop. We're bringing down high frequency energy from the astral realm to share with Gaia, as she sends up the low frequency, high density energy to be transmuted and recycled in the astral realm, that then will come back down as high frequency energy that she can use for her own ascension, and as such, since we're a microcosm of her, we can use for our ascension. So while we're doing this, we can sort of tap into that upward beam and start sending up our own low frequency, high density energy, the anger, the hurt, the traumas, the just generally yucky feelings, the resentments, the anxiety, the fear, we can send that up, just like Gaia is doing, with basically the low frequency energy of the collective and of her own. We're sending it all up to be transmuted and recycled in the astral realm. And while we're doing that, we can start borrowing for ourselves, because we're a microcosm of the macrocosm. We can start borrowing for ourselves that high frequency energy, and start to replace our low frequency energy with that. So we're kind of doing like a double recycling loop here, with Gaia, and using that energy to clear out those lower frequency energies. And what we can do with that is when we start getting those low frequency energies out of us, is we start feeling spacious on the inside. We start feeling like we have room to bring in something new and something better. And so what we do is we allow that to go, and then we open ourselves to remembering our spiritual origins, and we can, maybe you can connect with an astral being from here, and maybe you can connect with, angels or spirit itself, to kind of get some insights into this process and insights into yourself. But if you're not feeling any of that, we can just, remember some affirmations. We can remember that we are a spiritual being. We are at our essence a spiritual being here, having a human experience in this physical suit. And that low frequency energy is what we came here to experience, but now we're here to overcome. We came here as a soul to work out in the high density of Mother Earth in the third dimension, that we're now kind of getting out of, and that was the original purpose of being here. But now we're here to remember our higher frequency natures and our true spiritual natures and stuff. And so we allow ourselves to remember that, and let that become a reality, that we are not in fact human, per se, but we are in fact spiritual beings, and it is our birthright. It is our divine right to hold this high frequency, loving, bright energy, and to be able to let go of the low frequency energy, because that was just kind of a temporary assignment, and we're kind of moving into the full assignment now. So let's just sit for a few moments. Let's breathe and let the recycling loop happen. Let it clear us out. Let us open up that space within us, and let's start receiving whatever it is you're going to receive from this transmission. Whatever being you connect to, or whether it's your higher self, whatever it is that you resonate with, that can help you process the lower energy out and the higher energy in. And so we just take a few deep breaths, hold, blow out. And by the way, if we're having thoughts in the middle of this, we don't need to clear our minds. We can watch those thoughts, and we can watch them go away. We can, if we're having thoughts that are low frequency, or that are angry or sad or anything like that, we can acknowledge those thoughts, but then watch them go away on that upward column of low frequency energy that's being sent up to be recycled. All right, and so while we do this, we just allow ourselves to feel gratitude for this opportunity to grow and to connect to our true spiritual essence, and to be part of this ascension of human consciousness, and not just human consciousness, but the ascension of Gaia's consciousness. We're actually actively helping her while we're helping ourselves here, because we are a microcosm of the macrocosm. As above, so below, and that's and it rings true for the spiritual realm as well. As above, so below. So we're spreading that through us to her. Let's just sit for just another minute and kind of breathe and kind of have whatever experience you're going to have in this moment. Everybody's experience is going to be different. Everybody's guided by different energies, different angels, maybe, like I said, your higher self or source itself. Whatever it is that you resonate with and connect to today is right. There's no right or wrong way to do this. And it's just a beautiful experience to be able to clear out that and at least just kind of sit in this for a moment. So. And I encourage you to think, to let this really go, and really let go of the thinking, and just let this become a part of you. Okay. I'll sit for another minute and just let the energy recycle and flow. And please, put in the comments if you have any kind of insights or any particular experiences from this flow that you feel are amazing or noteworthy and stuff. I'd love to hear them. So, all right. So we've done that for a few minutes, and really this is, this is kind of a high energy activity, and so it's not one that I recommend doing for really extended amounts of time every day because it can be exhausting. So I recommend that we kind of keep this to a short, maybe 10 to 20 minute exercise, and use it to kind of clear us out every day and make us available to the high frequency energy and to the love and to the peace and to the joy that is, our default setting. So, all right, so we've been doing this for a little bit, and let's go ahead and we'll go ahead and start wrapping it up. We're going to go ahead and start breathing and start letting the downward column of energy sort of dissipate, kind of finish up, and let the upward column of energy dissipate and finish up. Let's bring our awareness back to our physical bodies. And just let us come out of this kind of slowly and sit and just really enjoy the moment. We feel so spacious on the inside right now and feel so high frequency, and like we've let go of a lot of low frequency energy for the moment. Just kind of savor the moment, and then let yourself start kind of feeling your physical body again. Feel your heartbeat and your your fingertips and your breath coming in, and as you're called to or as you're comfortable with, go ahead and kind of start to waken again and open your eyes and just be in the moment. And this is a great activity or a great exercise and activity that we can do every day, and really it only takes a few minutes. Like I said, I don't recommend doing it. This is not one I would recommend doing a 2-hour session of, because it'd be absolutely exhausting and draining. But if we do this for a few minutes every day, we'll notice that that connection starts to get stronger, and the peace and love and joy in our life starts to become more of a state of being than something we experience as an emotion. So anyway, I thank you so much for joining me today. I really enjoy and love the opportunity to be able to do this work and send this, this energy to you and help you to work with it and alchemize and transmute those things within yourself that are keeping us anchored into the lower frequencies. So we should have a new episode coming out in a couple days, a full episode, and I would imagine after that we'll have another guided meditation or some sort of exercise that we'll put out with it. So anyway, I wish you all another happy 24, and I hope everybody's feeling a little more spacious now, and we'll see you next time.